Hello and welcome into Brewcast for Amazing Brew on the SB Nation Podcast Network. Here with you on Tuesday night, September 6th, as we head into September 7th, week number 2 of the college football season. Luke Ghiardi here with you, along with Scotty White, and we've got another week of Michigan football coming your way. Man, did it feel good to have some college football back. Full slate of games, man. It was awesome, Scotty. What's going on, buddy?
It's going great, man. It was a great first week. Nothing to complain about from the Michigan game, so that's always good. And just so many fun games to watch. You know, the first weekend's so fun when you get the Sunday night game and then the Monday night game too. Just a long weekend of football. Obviously, that LSU Florida State game was absolutely insane, and it was just all around just a fun weekend.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy games that were happening. Obviously, you know, LSU Florida State kind of nightcapped it, but North Carolina App State was nuts. Iowa South Dakota State was kind of crazy in its own right. It was just it was a great weekend of college football, and there's nothing quite like that first weekend having it back.
Yeah, no, that those two games. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen 7 points scored in the way that Iowa did it. But they won the game, so kudos to them. And that App State game was funny. I saw the 2-point conversion and then turned it off and then checked the phone later and saw that there were 2 more touchdowns scored in the last 30 seconds of the game, man. It's nuts.
Yeah, how many times do you see a winning team, have a majority of their points scored with 2 safeties? Like, that just doesn't happen.
It doesn't, dude. And then how often do you see a team score 40 points in the fourth quarter and lose? It's college football.
Yeah.
That's why it's the best game, man.
It is, man. And it was a fantastic opening weekend, obviously made a little bit better by a pretty, no sweat opener, I guess we would call it, for Michigan at the Big House on Saturday. Colorado State coming in, we kind of knew what it was going to be. Though the game went kind of opposite of what I maybe thought was going to happen initially. So we talked about it on the Pick'em pod a little bit. I actually took Colorado State plus 30.5 because, you know, Michigan's defense, I figured with the inexperience and Colorado State having Norvell coming over, right? And he brought six offensive transfers from Nevada with him, knowing his system, the air raid. I thought the Michigan defense was going to get tested early on, you know, and then settle in and really dominate the game. But from the get-go, man, I mean, it was absolutely brutal for Colorado State. They could not get anything going. If I was Clay Millen, I would have faked an injury at halftime because that guy was getting absolutely beat up. Like, there's no way that he was feeling good after that game. And so many different guys amongst that defensive front got involved. And I'll tell you what, if Mozzie Smith is eating double and triple teams all year, these edge rushers are going to be able to feast throughout the entire season.
Dude, definitely. I mean, he was reminding me of Rashawn Gary back in the day, getting those double and triple teams. And, you know, sometimes all the tackles aren't going to show up on the stat sheet, but like you said, it's just opening things up for everybody else. But yeah, dude, like we were saying, we kind of thought that it could be a slow start. And I honestly thought it was looking that way at first. You know, Michigan went 3 and out in the first possession. Colorado State got a couple first downs to start that second drive. But after that, I mean, the defense was really not a huge surprise. I thought it was going to be a talented defense, but it didn't look like they lost anything. It didn't look like it was taking a long time to get back to where they were. Obviously, it's Colorado State. You know, you got to take these games with a grain of salt. But that was great to see. And one of the biggest things for me that I'm looking for in these week 1 games when you're playing teams like Colorado State and getting into the Hawaii game and UConn is just to avoid injuries, man. Because obviously last year, Ronnie Bell going down in the first game against Western in a blowout. I mean, like, nothing sucks more than that. And you see that kind of stuff. I mean, the LSU player tore his ACL in a celebration. He's out for the season. Just those kind of injuries in week 1 are just so demoralizing. And that was a huge thing. I was like nervous for it the whole game and it never came. So that was another huge positive.
I will say one thing regarding Michigan's game plan. I was a little surprised with what I saw on the first possession or two. Because, you know, we know the quarterback situation, you know, everything that's going on there. We'll get into that a little bit as well. But I mean, you think back to last year, right? And you think back to the Western game early on, you think about the Washington game, even the Northern Illinois game for a little bit. Michigan was absolutely pounding the rock. Like, Cade, they were not asking Cade, really to throw the ball at all, particularly those first two games against Washington and Western. And then they come out and they run it on first down, and they got an excellent push up front, like a really good push. I think, first run went for 4 or 5 yards, but then Cade threw it on second and third down, and a couple of really not good throws. He missed Cornelius Johnson, kind of short hopped him, and then overthrew him to the outside on that third down. And you wonder if it was like, okay, we got you a run on first down, we're going to let Cade throw it, because at the end of the day, they're trying to gauge the quarterback position battle. And it seemed like a game plan, even on the very next drive, ran it on first down, then went to the air, ultimately ended up in the Roman Wilson long touchdown run. But they were, they were getting Cade involved early, and you got to wonder if the game plan was that, to see, how he's playing against a lesser opponent, to go out there and sling it and try and win this job.
Yeah, definitely. And I was kind of looking for that, to see him pass the ball more than they typically would, just like you said, to see how he's going to do, those first two games, and the way that Harbaugh laid out the plan with the quarterbacks. It seems kind of like a tryout, like an audition. Yeah, I remember before the game, I saw some player prop for Blake Corum for over 106 yards. I thought that was a for sure lock. But him and Edwards just, right about split the carries, 13 for Corum, 12 for Edwards. I think Corum finished with 86 yards, about just under 6 per carry. So, I mean, both of them had great games. But yeah, I mean, I think Michigan is going to be able to impose their will on a lot of opponents in the run game. And I'm interested to see how it goes this week too against Hawaii, because they've been getting absolutely torn apart on the ground. But also, you want to see how JJ's arm's going to be, because it's his first start. So I'm interested to see how that playing calling is going to go too.
Yeah, like we'll get into the Hawaii stuff here, but they allowed, so it was a little better last week, but you have to take that with the fact that they played Western Kentucky, and traditionally that's a team that's going to go ahead and air it out. You know what I'm saying? They threw it 44 times a week ago. Vanderbilt, though, had 44 rushing attempts for 404 yards and a 9.2 average against Hawaii.
And that's
and this Michigan offensive line can absolutely eat. That's the other thing, right? When we're talking about this quarterback battle, is how much are we going to even see JJ have to throw it? It might not even go against a game plan, but if Michigan's able to get 8-9 yards a carry, I mean, he's not going to have a whole lot of meaningful throws in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, just even when he's coming in and handing the ball off, you have to respect the run that he had 3 carries for 50 yards on Saturday. When he comes in, everybody knows that he's got a talented arm. He can throw the ball, and they have to respect that. And then he can also run, dude. He's running fast. I saw something. He's running faster 40s than all NFL quarterbacks except for 3.
Yeah.
The running from McCarthy was what really impressed me on Saturday. He got in for a touchdown. Like I said, 3 carries for 50 yards. He's super fast. I mean, that was and like I said, they've got to respect him for that, and it just adds this whole other thing to his game that McNamara just doesn't have.
So I see a comment here as, by the way, if you're listening on the pod, we are live on the Maize n Brew YouTube page. We're going to be live throughout the season. Appreciate everyone that's in here right now. We got a comment from Open-Minded Thinker. He said the weather might be a factor for the Hawaii game. Just check that on my Dark Sky app. Looks like it's just overcast, 3% chance of rain, though there's some rain in that or around that time period for Sunday. So if that moves up to Saturday, we'll see, what happens there. In terms of that. But if that's the case, if there's like a whole lot of rain that's going to be in Ann Arbor on Saturday night, then Michigan probably really is going to be leaning on the ground game quite a bit, which is, I don't want to see that. Obviously, at the end of the day, I want to see JJ McCarthy lead a couple of drives early on, right? We've seen him at different points in different games, and he's taken a lot of meaningful snaps, but at the end of the day, it's a throw here or a throw there. I want to see him lead some drives. I want to see him stand in the pocket and make some reads and make some throws. I know what he can do with his legs. He's unbelievable And it adds an entire other element to the offense. We saw it in his first carry, the read option that went for a touchdown. I mean, that adds an entire another element to every defense that, at the end of the day, Cade McNamara doesn't have. I want to see JJ go out there and lead some drives early on in a ball game, get a feel from the get-go and see what he's able to do. So I hope the weather doesn't affect it. I hope they, have him do that a little bit. But at the end of the day, like we just talked about, like this Hawaii defense, man, they're so bad. I mean, they allowed 5 yards a carry to Western Kentucky. I mean, Michigan could cover the 50-point spread, I think, without throwing a single pass all game. I legit believe that. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. And like you said, Michigan averaged what six yards a carry on Saturday. So against Hawaii, it's gonna be a lot easier for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado State's not a good team, but I mean, you got to think that they're better than Hawaii. And I mean, I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but after that, it's UConn. So I mean, it's just some really bad teams. Like it doesn't get much easier than what Michigan's going to get the next 2 weeks. And you think back to Michigan just won by 44 against Colorado State. You think back to NIU last year in that first half. I mean, I could see Michigan covering the 51-point spread in the first half, dude, and still without throwing a single pass.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real doubt regarding the game, obviously. I just another thing I wanted to get to with this, right? Because there's been a lot of talk on social media. Really, it's one guy in particular that's doing a lot, and stirring up a lot of controversy. Like at the end of the day, man, I personally, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion because it feels like everyone is trying to choose a side, right now. I don't care who plays quarterback for Michigan. I really don't. If it's Cade, I'm going to root for Cade. If it's JJ, I'm going to root for JJ. Because at the end of the day, if you're rooting against one of those guys to underperform, like you're rooting against Michigan scoring points, right? Like I'm not going to do that. Whoever is in there at quarterback, I want to see Michigan score some touchdowns at the end of the day. I truly don't care which one it is. Now you can have your opinion on which one is better, but at the end of the day, like there is a lot of the feeling that you need to put down one guy in favor of the other. And I'm just not about that when it comes to my own team, that I'm rooting for each and every Saturday. So I'm not going to do that. Whichever guy wins a quarterback battle, I have an idea of who I think is going to win it. I truly believe that JJ is going to go out there and absolutely dominate Hawaii. And there's not going to be really any doubt. But if it's not, if Harbaugh goes with Cade McNamara, I'm going to be perfectly fine. I'm going to root for 12 and let's go get some points, man.
Yeah, dude, we're on the exact same page. And I saw something funny from the Blue by 90 guys. It was a step-by-step guide about how to handle this quarterback situation. Step 1, don't be a dick. That's it. These are college kids. If you're rooting against one of them, like that is just weird, especially when you're a fan of the team. Yeah, I really don't understand that. Obviously, and we've talked about this so much, and it's honestly getting frustrating, like just to continue to see this and have to talk about it. But obviously, the coaches are gonna make the right decision. We've said this so many times. It's crazy that we still have to talk about it, but at the end of the day, that's what's gonna happen. And yeah, I couldn't care less. Obviously, I'm on the same page as you. I think after watching the first game, to me, it looked like JJ McCarthy was a better quarterback. Obviously, it was one game that could change. McNamara is going to play against Hawaii too. He's probably going to play just fine against that Hawaii defense as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. I think JJ McCarthy is going to win the job. I don't see a scenario to where he has any struggles this weekend. And just what he put on display Saturday just really showcases what he can do. We talked about the legs. He also went 4 for 4 passing. So I definitely am excited to see more of that. But honestly, I just hope that this whole quarterback thing is done soon. Cause like I said, I'm just kind of getting sick of all the stuff on Twitter, and I really don't want it to get dragged on into conference play because, Maryland is going to be a tough team. We've talked about that. Right after that is Iowa. I want it to get figured out as soon as possible, and really just, know who's the guy, have that guy know they're the guy so they can get acclimated. Everybody knows what's going on. and the sooner the better, you know.
Yeah, we got this comment from Antoine Johnson as well. He said JJ makes everything easier for Michigan, even when the play breaks down, he just glides out of danger. And that's ultimately the element that we saw a little bit on Saturday, right? There were a couple times where Cade did get into trouble and, on the run, number one, the short hop to Cornelius Johnson on the first drive, he got out of danger and he did just fine, but he it's an easy throw. He's got to make it. Maybe there were some jitters, regarding the quarterback controversy, but the other time, is that down near the goal line, and Cade made a good play to save 3 points on third down because the left side of the line broke down on the play. I believe this was when Barnhart was out. And they had to move Keegan over to left tackle, put in El Hadid at left guard, and that play it got blown up. Cade rolled out to the right. There was no one in the area. Everything was flowing left on the play. But that's also a play, right, where, like Antoine says, JJ probably makes something out of it. Even if it's a sack, it doesn't take you out of field goal range. Cade made the right play to not throw it into danger, but being able to extend the play and being able to find someone eventually, right? That's the intangible that JJ McCarthy brings to the offense. Now, the question is going to be, like, when you think back to what Cade does well, it is managing those risks, and getting 3 points there is a lot better than zero. Ultimately, it wasn't going to affect the outcome because it was Colorado State. But in Big Ten play, that very much is going to be a thing that, it's going to come down to it. And there's a whole other thing, by the way, right? Is that, and I know they're going to be working on it. JJ took off, had a big run, but that man did not get down. And he took a big hit and he bounced right back up, right? There's a real good chance that at some point, whether it's for a couple of plays, a couple of series, maybe it's a quarter in the game, if JJ wins this job, there's a very real chance Michigan is going to also be relying on Cade McNamara at some point, right? So handling it here with Hawaii and UConn, I still think getting them both reps and is really not that bad of an idea.
No, I totally agree. I mean, at some point in this game, obviously, pretty quickly, it's going to get out of hand. If JJ's the guy, there's no point in getting wear and tear and risking injury. So yeah, I think definitely. I mean, Harbaugh said Cade's going to play. I kind of expect it to be pretty similar to what happened this week. Kind of see him a lot in the fourth quarter and in the second half. But yeah, I know the exact play you're talking about, and those are the ones where I'm just like, oh my God, please get up, because it scares me so much, especially in these games that it's already out of hand. Yeah, he's gonna have to work on that. I don't think we've ever seen AJ take a slide, anything like that on one of his runs, and he's clearly a tough guy. But I mean, when those hits keep piling up throughout the season, and eventually you take one in the wrong spot, that could create a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? Like, I'm going to let the quarterback situation kind of play out here. And at the end of the day, I think Michigan's got two very capable quarterbacks to compete for a Big Ten championship here this year. You talk about some of the other teams that they would potentially see down the line if that were to happen. We'll see. We'll talk about that when the time comes, because Georgia and Alabama are two fantastic teams, but we're not, putting the cart ahead of the horse here too early on. I do want to talk a little bit about the defense that we saw on Saturday, because my goodness, man, you lost ultimately 3 first-round picks, right? Like, I get it. David Ojabo was taken in the second round. He'd have been a first-round pick if it wasn't for the Achilles on the pro day. You lost 3 first-round picks on that side of the football. The number 2 overall pick and a Heisman finalist included. And I know Colorado State, the offensive line, not great, whatever. But if you just look at it, right, and see what they were able to do and guys they were able to rotate in, I mean, I was blown away, to be quite honest with you. Like we said, Mozzie, I mean, he's just going to be eating double and triple teams, and that's gonna free things up. But the depth, I think, at edge and even inside, that was the thing that got me. Mason Graham getting the start. This kid is going to be an absolute stud. Loved what I saw from Derek Moore. How about Ayabi Anoma coming in? He got here less than a month ago.
Yeah.
and he's out here making plays. Dude just absolutely ran through two guys to make a sack in the first half. They got some dudes on that defensive line.
Yeah, dude, the defense was incredible. And, we talked about some past shows. Yeah, it's Colorado State, but we see what good teams do to the inferior opponents early on in the season, and they dominate. And that's exactly what Michigan did. I mean, they had 7 sacks in the game. That was awesome. Junior Colson racked up 10 tackles. He was the leader. That was really I was thinking that the linebackers are going to be a really strong unit on the defense this year, and Junior Colson had himself a game. Michael
Yes,
Barrett had
yes, he
himself a
did.
game. It
How about
was
Mikey switching to
yeah.
defense, was making plays all over the field?
Oh, yeah, dude, it was awesome, and another thing that was so big last year, the defense was so good, but something that they kinda struggled with was forcing the turnovers. 2 forced turnovers in the game, 1
Yep.
returned for a touchdown, and the pick 6 by Rob Moore was almost returned for a touchdown too. So that was great to see. I mean, they absolutely just dominated the game. They took care of business. There was nothing like we saw in 2017, in 2019 early on where we're like, "Huh, this is kind of weird." They're struggling a little bit against a pretty
Mhm.
bad team. There was nothing like especially on the defense. I mean, they took care of business and they flat out dominated the entire game.
Yeah, and even seeing a guy, obviously it was great to see Will Johnson get as many reps as he did. I
Yeah,
know he got beat for the one touchdown, but he had some nice plays and some good coverage out there as well. I see a comment here again talking about Jesse Minter's multiple defensive looks. Dude, they were rolling like
yeah,
crazy. I mean, they were switching up defenses. They were disguising tons of things, and you could tell, right, that this defense is miles ahead really of where they were a year ago because Mike McDonald's was installing a new system. And this is why Jim Harbaugh went out and got him to be the
yeah,
defensive coordinator, because they've picked up almost right where they left off with a bunch
yeah.
of new faces on that side.
Yeah, no, they haven't missed a beat. It was great and yeah, Will Johnson, I mean, getting the young guys the reps at this time of year, dude, I would much rather have him get beat for a touchdown when we're up 44 to
Yeah.
0 against Colorado State than later in the season. So yeah, I mean,
Because he'll
those are
learn from
great
that.
reps.
That's how you get
Exactly,
out there and learn. You go out and you get reps.
exactly. Yep. So I mean, he's going to learn from that. He's going to be a hell of a player. I mean, there's a reason that he's getting these times early on as a true freshman. Yeah, that's a learning experience. That's just going to make him better. Um, I mean, I zero complaints from the defense. They did not skip a beat or miss a beat.
And looking ahead to this Hawaii game on Saturday, they've got a really good chance to be able to feast here again on this side of the football, man, because Hawaii's going to come in. Looks like they are going to be trying to throw it quite a bit. Um, they've got Braden Shager through 2 games. He's 40 of 68, under 60% completion percentage. Joey Yellen has also thrown 31 passes for a 45% completion percentage. Neither guy has a touchdown. They've thrown 5 interceptions. Shager's INT rate is 5.9% against Vanderbilt and Western Kentucky. Yeah, they cannot really run the ball that well. They average 4.2 a carry against Vanderbilt, just 2.7 against Western Kentucky. It's going to be another feasting for this defense, and I know people love to talk about the cupcake schedule for Michigan, but this is exactly the reason you schedule some of these games, because they're just going to get more and more comfortable in this scheme with this playing time, that a lot of these guys didn't have a year ago. And by the time they get to Maryland, right, in that high-powered offense, I think after Hawaii and after UConn, they're gonna be feeling good, and they're gonna be playing some good defense. And all of those, players, that Maryland has, because they do have a very good offense, make no bones about it. Michigan's gonna be ready for it. And that's exactly why I think these 3 games set up quite well for them.
Oh yeah, dude, I am very in favor of this schedule. I mean, obviously there are some kind of not as entertaining games. You're not getting the you're not getting nervous or anything like that.
I do like seeing Michigan score 8 to 9 touchdowns a game. Not
I
gonna
do as
lie to
well.
you.
It's fun. It's very fun. That's for sure. Sometimes it's I like those nail biters. Obviously, it takes years off my life, and it's sometimes very uncomfortable. But I mean, those are the fun ones. But I mean, dude, you look at Utah. I mean, even if they win out now, they might be out of the playoffs. So, I mean,
Right.
I'm very in favor of this schedule. If Michigan wins all of these games and then still loses to Ohio State at the end of the season, they could still get in. So yeah, I mean, and I don't care who they're playing. This defense, this offense, they're going to be confident going into Big Ten season.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, what it is, right? Like that's what you are looking for. Because especially with the kind of inexperienced team on one side of the football, just go out there and get that experience, get that confidence, and really be rolling. Offensively, they're not going to be challenged. That's the only downside here.
Mhm.
But hey, it is what it is. I'd rather the defense be playing some good football, getting into Big Ten because Michigan's got enough weapons, and we haven't really seen the full firepower of the offense utilized yet. Because I mean, Roman Wilson, we saw what he was able to do when he gets the ball in his hands. Cornelius Johnson did make a nice catch or two against Colorado State when they were able to get the ball to him, but we didn't get to see really a guy like Andrell Anthony get a really good opportunity. Ronnie Bell just got the one across the middle. I'm very excited to see what he's able to do as he gets a little more comfortable being back out there. So we'll see if that's the case here against Hawaii this Saturday. Are they going to try and get these guys more involved, or like we've talked about, are they going to get Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards rolling? Or or on the flip side too, right? Do you kind of want to limit their touches because they're not I mean, Donovan Edwards is a big guy, right? There's no question about that. Blake Corum, not so much, but do you really, want these guys to be racking up the carries early on in the year? Like they're not Hassan Haskins at the end of the day, right? They're not
Yeah.
converted linebackers to the running back position.
Right.
So that's another thought too. Like, yeah, you start moving it on the ground, but you might start throwing some different passes because you have such a deep wide receiver room. There's plenty of targets to spread around, and you're going to be able to do it against Hawaii.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Michigan's definitely got some tricks up their sleeve, but at the end of the day, Michigan knows they don't have to do anything special to get the easy wins here. And it goes back to that injuries things too. You don't want to risk injuries when you're playing teams like Hawaii and stuff. So I think that it's really going to be a lot of the basic stuff here. I mean, Michigan can just run the ball down their throat and use a ton. I mean, dude, CJ Stokes looked great in that game
Yeah.
against Colorado
Oh
State.
God, does he got some speed?
Oh yeah, and I mean he's gonna get a ton of touches against Hawaii too. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Dunlap, he's gonna get some more touches as well. I mean, you don't want. I mean, obviously we had Haskins last year when Corum was injured, getting what 25, 30 carries a game. But like you said, I mean the dude's an absolute beast. But I mean, there's just no point of doing it right now. So I mean, it's going to be spread out a lot. And yeah, I mean, there was an absurd amount of wide receivers that caught passes. I don't think anybody had more than 2 receptions, but there was an absurd amount of players that had receptions last game. And I think that's the way to do it right now. I mean, I just can't stress enough how nervous I am about injuries, dude. Um, so I mean, I think that's the way to go. Just spread it out. Just don't risk anything and go in and get that easy win.
Yeah. So no one caught more than 2 passes. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, and Colston Loveland all caught 2 passes. But here's the list of players that did catch a pass. Roman Wilson, Eric All, Cornelius Johnson, Colston Loveland, CJ Stokes, Matthew Hubner, Blake Corum, Ronnie Bell, Luke Schoonmaker, Hunter Neff, AJ Henning, Andrell Anthony, Donovan Edwards, Peyton O'Leary, and Max Bredson.
Wow. They spread it out.
Yeah, I would say that is that's very spread out, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh my
they've got
God.
the depth on the offense and the amount of weapons. I mean, they can do that. There's just so many
Yeah.
guys on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and again, we're not going to learn a lot about this team, but the one thing that I did mention, Scotty and I talked about it, winning games against Colorado State, like Michigan did. By the way, 1-0 ATS. They were the number 1 team in the country against the spread last year. I think just the one loss against the spread that came to Michigan State. Winning those games like that is what good teams do. That is what the great teams do.
Yep.
Like, make no mistake about it. Has Michigan been tested? No. But when you're good enough to go out and beat teams like that, like Iowa should have done it to South Dakota State. They didn't, There were some other teams. NC State should have beat East Carolina a whole hell of a lot worse than the Wolfpack did.
They should have
didn't.
lost.
Yeah, they should have lost that game. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Go back to 2019 when Michigan struggled with Middle Tennessee State for a while, when they had to go to double overtime with Army. Go back to 2017 when they almost lost to Cincinnati and Air Force. The good teams, the great teams, they take care of business exactly the way Michigan was able to against Colorado State.
Yeah, man. Good teams win, great teams cover. Michigan covered with ease. And
I mean,
the more
look at last year. We didn't expect. We thought Michigan was going 9-3 a year ago,
yeah, at
and
best.
we could have learned a lot looking in hindsight from the Western, the Washington, and the Northern Illinois games. Even though those were not great teams, the writing was on the wall given their performances in those games.
Yeah, they take care of business. And the more and more we talk about this team and this upcoming game against Hawaii, the more I think that even though it's a 51-point spread, that Michigan's going to cover it because good teams win, great teams cover.
Yeah, I'm still that spread's got to go a lot higher for me to not be on the Michigan side. I just know I should have jumped on the 46 right away. Support for Brewcast brought to you by Manscaped, best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products, precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and we've got you covered here with Brewcast and Maize n Brew. We want you to get the Performance Package 4.0. It comes with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer with the Nick Guard. It does the job. Weed Whacker is the ear and nose hair trimmer. It's got the deodorant, the toner, the Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag, an overnight bag to hold all the goodies. We're getting you 20% off and free shipping. Insert code MNB20 at manscaped.com. That's MNB20 at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So, man, has it been good to be live here once again. I appreciate everyone that's been in the chat. I love to see it rolling again, man. Tell your friends we're going to be doing this weekly. We are going to be generally doing it on Monday night. So yesterday with it being Labor Day just didn't quite work out, but we're hoping to go Monday nights around 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So make sure you subscribe to the Maize n Brew YouTube page. Tell all of your friends to do it as well because we want more people. We want to hear from you guys. Big thank you to all you guys, Nasty Porch, Antoine, Johnson. I love hearing from you guys, Open-Minded Thinker. We really appreciate it, man. Always good hearing for you guys. Wolverine Maniac, appreciate you hopping in here as well. So we'll be back every Monday. We'll let you know. You can follow us on Twitter. Scotty, where can we find you, my man?
Yeah, you guys can give me a follow on Twitter at Scotty White _. And yeah, just keep telling your friends and come out here, hang out in the comments, makes it fun for us.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Luke Ghiardi, LUKEGHIARDI, or just follow the Maize n Brew Twitter page as well, because we're going to be blasting it out on there. We'll let you know when we're going to be going live each and every week. Looking forward to another great one Saturday night when Michigan welcomes in Hawaii, and already looking forward to Brewcast next week when we talk about it. For my partner, Scotty White, I'm Luke Ghiardi. We'll see you next week on Brewcast.